What is up, gang? So, another week of college football has come and gone, and we have week 2's recap. So, before I get into that, if you could hit that like, subscribe, bell icon buttons, as well as the share button, that'd be greatly appreciated. It's extremely helpful for the channel, and it gives me great feedback on what you guys think of the content altogether. So, let's get into week 2's recap. So, week 2's recap had a lot of great action, a lot of great games. Let's start off with the number 1 seed, or the number 1 ranked team in the country. So, Georgia was at home against Ball State. Georgia, the number 1 ranked team in the country, rolled right through Ball State 45-3. So Georgia gets the win, a big win. It's a blowout. Everyone should have expected that, especially since they were playing at home. And they win 45-3. In the next matchup that we have between unranked UNLV and number 2 Michigan out in the Big House in Ann Arbor, the Wolverines clawed their way to a 35-7 win over UNLV at the Big House, where they play so well and is such a tough atmosphere to play in. So Michigan gets the job done, and number 2 ranked Michigan gets the 35-7 win. Coming in at the next game between number 11 Texas and number 3 Alabama. This was one of the upsets I had. And number 11 Texas upsets number 3 Alabama in Alabama's home stadium in their own backyard, 34-24. Huge win for Texas. Huge loss for Alabama. This really is one of the games that changed the landscape of the rankings, which we will get into in the next video. In the next matchup between number 4 Florida State versus unranked Southern Mississippi, Florida State just ran through Southern Mississippi like a hot knife through butter and just completely ran through them. 66-13 was the final, an absolute blowout. This was expected since they came off a huge win against LSU in week 1 and rolling through LSU at a lower ranked seed than LSU, moving up to the number 4 seed for this week. They had a lot of momentum. That defense played outstandingly, and so did the offense. And just like in the Texas-Alabama game, Texas is, congratulations to Texas, but Texas's defense and offense really paid dividends for them, and they did their job and, beat Alabama, just like how Florida State did their job and beat Southern Mississippi handily, mind you. In the next match between number 5 Ohio State at home versus Youngstown State, number 5 Ohio State beat Youngstown State 35-7. Mind you, that Florida State game was in Florida State at the Doak. This Ohio State game was in Ohio State. Ohio State took care of business and beat Youngstown State again 35-7. In the last game of the night between number 6 USC and unranked Stanford, Stanford got rolled right through and blown out 56-10 by number 6 USC at USC. And in the Delaware number 7 Penn State game, Penn State at Penn State, this was a given. Penn State's too good to lose to a team like Delaware, and they proved it with a masterful performance with a 63-7 win over Delaware. Coming in next at the next matchup between number 8 Washington and unranked Tulsa. Washington beat Tulsa in Washington 43-10. So Tulsa loses another game, and it was in grand fashion that they lost that game. So 43-10 was the final in that game, and Washington remains undefeated. Next, in the next match between number 9 Tennessee and unranked Austin, PA. Austin, PA loses 30-13 to Tennessee in Tennessee as the Vols go on a tear against them and remain undefeated. And then in the number 10 Notre Dame NC State game, Notre Dame was on the road and beat NC State by 21 points. So the final score of that was 45-24. The next game between number 12 Utah versus Baylor, that was a game that was expected to be close, not as close as it was, but nonetheless, two very good football teams, one from the Pac-12, one from the Big 12, or SEC, I think it is. Not sure which one Baylor's in. I think it's the Pac or Big 12. But anyways, Baylor loses by 7 to number 12 Utah, 20-13. And in the next game, number 14 LSU rolled right through Grambling, down in the Bayou, completely obliterating them 72-10 in an absolute blowout. Grambling loses by 62 points in a game that they were not expected to do well in to begin with. So LSU gets the win, and Grambling gets blown out by 62. Coming in at number 15 with Kansas State and Troy. Kansas State hands Troy a 42-13 loss, as Kansas State remains undefeated as well. Then going into the next game between UC Davis and number 16 ranked Oregon State, where Oregon State was at home, and Oregon State gets the win 55-7. Then we've got number 17 North Carolina versus Appalachian State. This was a lot closer than I expected it to be. I'm sure than most people expected it to be, but I know for me personally, I was quite shocked. Number 17 North Carolina wins that by 6 points with a 40-34 win over Appalachian State in Chapel Hill. So North Carolina gets the win and remains undefeated as well. Coming in with the next game at number 18, SMU plays number 18 Oklahoma. Oklahoma takes care of business there, wins by 17 with a 28-11 win over SMU. So Oklahoma continues their undefeated streak and continues to roll in 2023. This was a game I did not expect to be an upset in the next game, but it is. So Washington State played number 19 Wisconsin, and Wisconsin loses to Washington State at Washington State by a score of 31-22. So Washington State with the upset win. Huge win for them. Huge loss for Wisconsin. Now let's see how Wisconsin rebounds, and let's see what Washington State does to keep the momentum. Going into the next game, which I thought was also going to be an upset, but ended up not being, with number 20 Ole Miss and number 24 Tulane. Number 20 Ole Miss gets a 17-point win against number 24 Tulane, 37-20. And Tulane loses their first game of the year. Moving on to the game with Lafayette and number 21 Duke, out in North Carolina as well at Duke's home field. Number 21 Duke gets the 42-7 win over Lafayette, and and Duke continues to roll, and let's see how they can carry their momentum into the next game. Then we had number 23 Texas A&M, which I did not see coming, versus Miami, and Miami gets the upset win 48-33 over number 23 ranked Texas A&M. And then finally the last game between number 25 Clemson and Charleston Southern down in Clemson. Number 25 Clemson gets the big win 66-17. That is the week 2 recap. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Which games were you most surprised by? Which games didn't surprise you at all? Until next time, guys, have a great rest of your night, and I'll talk to you next time.